Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, of course, your host every week. Glad you're all here. Glad for the regulars that tune in week after week. And I also see some newcomers out there. So thank you very much for tuning in, whichever channel that you've tuned in. But wherever you're watching this, make sure, if you haven't already, go to Van Buren Variety. That's Van Buren Variety. And you'll hit that subscribe button somewhere over there, and that'll make me feel really good. And as always, if you like the guest tonight and you like the topic, make sure you hit that like button. I'm sure our guests would appreciate that as well. So for those newcomers, just to give you a quick rundown, this is a variety show. I'm here once a week, mostly on Tuesday nights live, to talk about an individual guest, to talk about an interesting topic. It might be the person's profession, a hobby, a how-to experience, how-to segment, general interest, or even some musicians. So you never know what you're going to get. So hit that subscribe button for Van Buren Variety, and you'll get updates of upcoming guests. So I'd appreciate that. Hope you've all had a great week so far. I really have. As some of you remember that have watched the show long enough, my grandmother, maternal grandmother, whom I love very much, passed away last summer. She was 99, just 5 months short of being 100. But you know, she lived a good, happy life, long life, and I couldn't be prouder of her. But we're still, after all this time, going through some of her stuff. And I had forgotten about that she had these. Back when I was either a little baby or a toddler. I know this was a gift from me to them, but I'm sure my mother bought it for me and just put my name on it. But I have inherited these things back, and they're little cups, and I want to show them to you tonight. I gave one to my pawpaw and one to my granny. And if you look at this one says, "I love Grandpa." There's the one that I gave to my pawpaw. And not to play favorites, I also gave one for my grandma. "I love Grandma." These are actually vintage cups, and they're actually worth a lot of money now, but I'm not selling them. They are mine forever. So, and I remember them drinking out of these cups, and they even had them displayed for the longest time in their kitchen counter or kitchen cabinet. So, very proud to be the owner of these, and they do bring back great memories. So, had some wonderful grandparents, and I feel very blessed that way. So, I hope you've had, wonderful memories of your grandparents as well. I know that I have. So, and having some of their things with me now really touches me. So. Anyway, that's kind of what's been going on with me. So let's talk about tonight's guest now. Now, I know I've had many authors on this show. We've had different genres of books on this show, and this one will be no different. And I've already spoke to our tonight's guest about his book, and he's got an upcoming book that we'll talk about too. And so stay tuned if you really want to get involved in either science fiction or horror. And those of you that's watching this on Texas Front Porch would probably take a really big interest too as well, because this might perk your interest as well as my audience on Van Buren Variety. So without further ado, let me bring my guest in tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Paul Bahou. He's an author. He's written a book already and a book on the way, and he's going to tell us kind of about how he got started in writing, his subject matter. And so, Paul, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Thanks for having me, Bob. Hello, everyone out there in the internet land. It's good to be here.
And just so the audience know in advance, we still are, obviously, we're having some internet problems, not just Paul's, but me as well. So you might see maybe some freezing a little now and then. Maybe the voice might not match what our lips are saying, but we'll get through it. So, when it's a live show, what do you do? So we're aware of it. So we know some probably will comment that, "Hey, you're freezing up. Yeah, you're looking like this now." Yeah, we're aware of that. So yeah, there you go. Perfect freeze.
No, just kidding.
So, well, Paul, let's kind of get into it. You're an author, so tell us first, before we show the name of the book, what kind of genre have you written so far?
So my debut novel is called Sunset Distortion and the Pyramid at the End of the World.
And here's a copy of that book, ladies and gentlemen.
Go ahead and throw that one up there. Ooh, that's a great looking cover.
Yes, it is.
So as you can see, it's about alien abduction. So it's about an 80s rocker named Laser. Almost made it, not quite. Let me go this way. Hey, everybody. Oh, too far. There we go.
Yeah, we can see you now. Yeah.
He gets abducted by aliens. goes on this wild, wacky adventure out in outer space. Very fish out of water. For fans of things like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, in that kind of realm of science fiction. Very humorous, lots of jokes, lots of musical references. But yeah. It's gotten pretty good reception so far, so I'm very happy with it.
So you said alien abduction. Now, we've actually talked about that, not only on my channel, Van Buren Variety, but also on Texas Front Porch. So I think you sparked an interest there. And you say this is a rocker that's being abducted here?
Yeah. So it's he's his name is Laser, and he plays lead guitar in an 80s heavy metal cover band. Almost made it, never did. Just played like the bar scene. One drunken night after a performance, he gets abducted by aliens and sent on this intergalactic journey. And a little bit of a buddy comedy, a little bit of action adventure, lots of silly sci-fi.
Now, you say he's an 80s rocker, so does this story take place in the 80s, or he's just a rocker from the 80s and it's present day?
Oh, it takes place in 2015. So
okay.
He is just, he's middle-aged now. He's not really with the times as much, but he still is his own person. You can see my shirt, but quite the fan of heavy music. So
that'll work. Iron Maiden, yes.
I listened to lots and lots of like heavy metal while I was writing this, just to kind of really get in that mindset and psych rock and stuff like that.
I got to ask, were you a Pantera fan too, or no?
I was never a giant Pantera fan, but I want to
go see I like them
for Metallica in August. I want to see I know the brothers are both passed on now, but shoot, man, it'll be a good time. I think people need to be less absolutist about it. Just go enjoy yourself. Go to the rock show. Get sweaty. Throw some elbows in the pit. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, what was your motivation for writing this book? Did you talk to someone maybe who had that, or did you just kind of invent this and write it as you go? What was your inspiration is what I'm asking.
So I was always in rock bands. That was kind of my creative outlet, and for a while it looked like my future profession. But as many other musicians out there have experienced, you're about to make it till you don't. So after my last band broke up around 2015, I was like, wow. I'm done being in a band with people. I'm over it. This is just herding cats and trying to get people in the same room at the same time. You get to agree on what kind of music to play. It's a lot. So I was like, I'm just going to write. I have this book concept. I wrote a short story way back in the day in college, and I want to develop it into a novel. So it takes place in 2015 because that's when I really started working on it. And spent 5 years just a couple hours every day, just working on it. No stress, no pressure. I think a lot of writers, particularly when you're trying to, start doing it, you put all these expectations on yourself. You put all of these just requirements or goals or all these milestones you think you have to hit, but you really don't. Follow the process, enjoy the process. All things will come when they're ready. Sure,
absolutely. Now, just curious. Now, you said you played in a band. What instrument did you play?
I play the bass.
Oh, can you show us, please? Yes. Oh, there it is. Oh, wow. Come on.
Can't hear it. It's unplugged. Yeah.
Got a hiccup in there somewhere.
Big fan. Love.
Oh, that's perfect. What kind of guitar is that? What's the model?
Oh, it's a Fender jazz bass.
Oh, okay.
I've also got I got my Gibson SG, but this guy needs some work done. Needs some love.
Okay.
I got my little wall. So this is my little studio, but also where I do a lot of writing as well. So, it's my creative space. I'll do work up here. Need to get away from the kids a little bit,
So you're an author and a musician. You're multi-talented then.
Thank you. But right now, you get into different phases of your life, and things that worked for you at one point might not work then. And right now I got 2 little kids under 5, so going out and playing a bunch of bars and gigging just doesn't really seem like it's in the cards right now. So I was like, I really like writing. I've always wanted to write a novel, and so I just did it. And you just have to go and do the work and show up every day, and eventually you'll come out the other side with a finished product. And
let me ask you about the age. Is that written for all ages or a specific age? Is it You know.
Um, really, no profanity, no sex, lots of violence. So it's I put it in kind of like the realm of like Evil Dead, where it can be kind of like cartoonishly gory. And I've had a couple of people who read it. They go like, ah, and I say, hey, you know, that's not your aesthetic. But it's not like super gross out. There's always kind of like some kind of like morbid comic twist on everything that's happening. Yeah, if you're into horror or, you know, sci-fi comedy, it's like those kinds of three things all wrapped up together.
I think of Shaun of the Dead. That's what I think of.
Definitely Shaun of the Dead vibe. That's the wavelength. That's the wavelength for sure. So in that realm, absolutely.
Well, let me bring that back up, and I'll ask you, Paul, while we're looking at the cover here, if someone's watching this right now, whether they're watching this live or days, weeks, months, years from now, if you've got their interest, they want to order your book, what would be the best place you would tell them to order it?
Amazon.com, baby. Just type in Paul Bahou Sunset Distortion. Boop, up it pops.
Now, what was the subtitle? You call it Sunset Distortion, but what about the pyramid?
The pyramid at the end of the world.
Pyramid at the end of the world. That's interesting.
Is it literal? Is it figurative? Is it both? Read the book and find out.
By the book. Okay.
That's right. By the book, baby. Yeah. It's part 1 of 5. But I'm kind of James Cameroning it a little bit. So I wrote the first one. The second book is 95% done. And I'm going to finish the third one. And I'm going to release those one after the other. So right now I have a different book that is going to be coming out this year. Wanted to announce it on the show. Hooray.
Perfect.
It's called The Electric Graveyard, Tales of Wonder and Woe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So is this a sequel then? The one you just wrote? Or is it a standalone?
This is a collection of horror and sci-fi short stories.
Okay.
That I've been writing over the last 2 years. I wrote the follow-up to that, and then I said, I don't want my second release to be something that you had to have read the first book. So I want a brand new entry point for new people to kind of check in on my writing and see if it's something for them. And when the time comes, I'll continue that series. But this book itself, you can read it and it stands alone on its own 2 feet. It doesn't even need the remaining parts for it to make sense or work. So it's like Star Wars, right? The first one, they could have just made that one. You never would have known.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you now. You said these are all standalones, but would you consider, or have you considered, like for example, Sunset Distortion? Would you consider making a sequel, or is this is it?
Yeah, that's what it is. So Sunset Distortion has 4 more books coming.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, and part 2 was already written. And part 3 is skeletoned out. But I put those to the side. I worked on a bunch of short fiction. That's going to be the next release. Stories about killer robots and time-traveling birds with an agenda.
Man. That's very Hitchcock. Sounds like Hitchcock to me.
Yeah. I got stories about murderous Christmas trees. Zombie apocalypse outbreak at a music festival. There's all sorts of fun, like longer novellas and novelettes and some really short, 1,000-word kind of, short ones in the mix. So it's all different lengths. The shortest story I think is 1,000 words, and the longest one is like 2,500. Or 25,000, excuse me. So it's got a good mix, and very Hitchcockian, very much about the twist and the psychological aspect of it. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's going to come out some point later this year. Check out the website and Facebook to follow up.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, Paul. If somebody actually wanted to contact you somehow, maybe they've read your book, they want to give you a good review, how much they liked it, or if they just want to keep in touch with you to see what your future books or future works are going to be, how would you suggest right now they contact you, or should I say follow you? Right.
So paulbahouwrites.com is the website. It's going to be up soonish. And then you can find me facebook.com/paulbahouwrites. That's kind of where I do my interactions and post current updates and until the website's up. So
okay, that's not up now, but I'll go ahead and display it. This will be the website, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you go there now,
it's not up.
It's not up, but it will be shortly. So you might want to bookmark this anyway, because it will
That's
be
right.
up, and you can keep track of Paul. Send him your
Yay!
comments about his book, and kind of follow him that way. So that would be perfect.
That's right. Tell me you love it. Tell me you hate it. Whatever. I know you'll love it. No one hates it. It's great.
Who could hate it,
Fantastic.
for example? So let me ask you, if you could get some advice. There might be somebody watching this right now who maybe has written something, whether it's a short story, a novel, and maybe they've just kind of been letting it languish on their desk, and they're not sure, if people would like it. It needs to be edited, and do I self-publish? Do I find a publisher? Maybe, and they're just really confused. So, to an up-and-coming writer who's watching you right now and maybe needs some advice, what would you tell that person if they've kind of finished it, but they don't know what else to do with it?
You're never going to catch a wave if you don't go to the beach. So
like that.
Go and write. Just write. Don't worry about publishing. Don't worry about people's opinions. Get it all out of your head. Just write. Write for the love of writing. Write for the love of telling a story. Write for the love of the process and the project of it. Just do that. And then once it's done and it's in your hand, then you can say, okay, let's start. Get your friends to read it. Maybe find a couple of beta readers. Get their feedback. Okay. Don't worry about being the next big writer sensation. It's the wrong focus to have, I think. I think what you need to focus on is the work itself, developing as a writer, progressing in your craft, and just enjoying it. It should be fun. I mean, unless you have to, crank out so many words per day to pay your rent, don't stress yourself out. You can do the thing where you shop to traditional publishers and you can go that route and people find success, and that's great. Or you can self-publish through Amazon, but then you have to also be your marketing person. You have to figure out how to format. There's a whole other world of stuff you got to do, but don't put the cart before the horse. Just write first and foremost.
Just do that first. Have fun with it, basically, right?
Have fun with it and develop it and work with it. And then if you hate it, well, have a couple of friends or family members who want to read it and give you honest criticism. And don't take it personally. If someone is reading your work and they're confused, then ultimately, writing is in service to the reader. So then you have to say, okay, my writing is confusing them. Something is bogging this story down. Something can be better here, and develop and work. And that's how we become good at anything. That's how you become good at guitar, or how you become an NFL player, right?
That's right.
Practice.
Well, let's go back to your book again. There was one question I didn't ask. So, ladies and gentlemen, this book that you're seeing, that is Paul's cover of his book, Sunset Distortion. I highly recommend you check it out. So let me ask you, Paul, you said this was about an alien abduction. Have you always kind of been interested in, I guess you could say, sci-fi or aliens or the unknown? Is that where you kind of
all of it?
Thought of it?
All of it. I love sci-fi. I was started on this science fiction journey when I was a kid, and my dad would show me those old black and white episodes of The Twilight Zone. And we would sit and we would watch The Twilight Zone. And so actually the next book coming up is kind of my homage to The Twilight Zone. Just short, psychological, sci-fi, horror kind of stories that don't need to be fleshed out to a novel length. Like they exist within that little pocket, that little bubble. And so I really, really like that format of storytelling. But yeah, I love alien stuff. I love cryptozoology. I love a good mystery. Hey, Bob, I got a question for you. So, which cryptozoological creature do you think is the most likely to actually be real?
Well, you got to remember, I'm being simulcast on a cryptid channel. So if I name one more than the others, I'm going to be under the bus. But okay, I believe they're all real. But in my opinion, the one that most likely, I think, that I personally think
is real,
Bigfoot.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe, not that I'm discounting the other ones, but I'm saying most likely, yes, absolutely. There's just too much out there. There's just too much evidence. I know a lot of the skeptics want to dismantle it and say, you're crazy, blah blah. But no, there's something going on.
Okay. What sold you as to having Bigfoot be the one that really you think is real? Like what piece of evidence said that's it? That's the thing.
Well, I can go back a little ways. My first interest in that was in the 1974 film The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it wasn't just a made up movie. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen The Legend of Boggy Creek?
I
You
have
need to
not.
check it out because it's based on a true story uh, about some Bigfoot sightings and even some interactions, some very heart pounding interactions in Falk, little town called Falk, Arkansas, which is on the Texas Arkansas border. So, yeah, 1974, The Legend of Boggy Creek came out. And there's just too much there. There's too much evidence. There's too many people that have experienced it, and not just in Falk. It wasn't until I started being a producer on another YouTube channel that I thought Bigfoot was only going to be from Falk, Arkansas. I didn't think there were others, and I was
Mm-hmm.
really shocked when I talked to Tex. My best friend and brother told me, no, there's multiple Bigfoots around the world, and there's people that's had sightings. There's people that's had pictures taken. I've been
Mm-hmm.
I've been to at least 3 Bigfoot conventions now. People
Okay.
that's written books, has had sightings, has heard stuff, and so yeah, it's it has sold me to answer your question. It has sold me because there's just too many people that I've talked to personally, as well as seen the evidence myself from others, pictures and sounds and everything. That yeah, I truly believe that there is Bigfoot is definitely real.
So does this extend to like Yeti and Skunk Ape and all those other ones? Is it like all under one big tent of these humanoid Bigfoot and Bigfoot adjacent creatures, or
Dog
is it
man,
just
there's a dog
specifically,
man
or
too.
is it just specifically Bigfoot?
Well, I think it's all under one umbrella. Me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
could be completely wrong. I am not a cryptid expert by any means, and I'm sure the people on the other channel are probably screaming at me right now. That's not right. Hey, I'm just telling you what I know. So yeah, I'm
Stir the
probably
pot.
they're probably going to tell Tex. Do you know what Bob Van Buren said? Hey, I said is my opinion. So don't get Tex mad at me. Don't get Jason mad at me. All the people from that channel, Rob, goes on. So, but no, I think it's. If it was just one story and one person saying something, then I would maybe really be a skeptic. But when you have multiple people talking about the same thing, multiple
Mm-hmm.
people from different parts of the country and in the world, may I say, saying the same thing, describing the same thing that they saw, that they heard,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way there'd be a conspiracy theory where all these strangers could get together and concoct the same story. And so when you see, footprints in die cast, that's been casted, and you see and hear different things, and then of course, like I said, go to Falk, Arkansas. That's Fouke, and then watch The Legend of Boggy Creek, Paul. It's a
I'll check it
1974
out.
film. It's a very low budget film, but
Mm-hmm.
you really want to get the big effect, do what I did. Watch it at night with the lights out.
Mm. All
And
right.
it really, that will, if that doesn't convince you, then you can also, if you don't, the movie's believable. It's based on
Mm-hmm.
true fact, but you can also look it up yourself. And so
All right.
that's what really got me interested. And plus, my really good friend, my brother, I call him my big brother, Tex. He's the
Mm-hmm.
one that really kind of got me into it, and really got me interested.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm fascinated by all that, and I'm never the one to. Man, the sun is setting and the light got so dark. It was so bright when we started. So yeah, I've always kind of felt that. I think that the most likely one was probably like the Yeti, because I mean you had Gigantolopithecus blackie and like all of those really really big hominids that they found in China and India and stuff like that. So I don't think it's too far of a stretch to think that some of those just climbed up the mountain and lived up there. And whether they still live now, who's to say?
Just to
But
say,
I mean, humans have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and we lived side by side with a lot of human adjacent species. And
mm-hmm,
I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that some of them might still exist in some form or another in the most remote pockets of the world.
sure. In fact, on the live chat, you said you expressed an interest. So there's people I knew on the live chat that would give you some more information. So there's other like podcast, webcasts you can go to,
Mm-hmm.
Paul. I'll show
Okay.
them on the screen here. Radio Vault says Sasquatch Chronicles podcast. You could check in that
Mm-hmm.
out. And then also Cheese Freak has the Radio Vault. Wes is awesome. So, but now I am executive producer of a well-known YouTube channel. So, and I will be in the doghouse if I don't promote that for sure. So I'm going to display that as well. Now, this is also being watched currently on this channel. So go to Texas Front Porch, Paul. And those of you watching this, now some of you are watching this on Van Buren Variety that are not familiar with Texas Front Porch. So I would definitely go there if you're interested in Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the unknown, aliens, paranormal. It's all there. And there's different shows. So those of you on Van Buren Variety, after this show's over, hop on Texas Front Porch. Man, those of you watching me on Texas Front Porch, make sure you go to Van Buren Variety, hit that subscribe button. So let's scratch each other's back, okay? So
I my favorite conspiracy theory is Organism 46B.
Okay, I'm not sure what that, and I am Organism 46B. All right, keep me tantalized. I am not sure what that is.
I love it. So the 2-minute version is: Have you heard of the place called Lake Vostok?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, Lake Vostok is a frozen lake in Antarctica that happens to have a Russian science installation sitting on top of it. Former Soviets, now the Russians, same people, different government, but still the same government. And so anyways, there was a whole bunch of noise about how they had drilled miles down through all of this ice and hit the water under the ice. And supposedly this lake had been completely removed in its own internal ecosystem for over 1 million years. And that there's all these other lakes that they're all connected subterraneously.
Oh, wow.
And so there was also like, what's under Lake Vostok? What's under Lake Vostok? I love a good, what is it? What's going on? You know, it's like the prize at the bottom of the cereal box. So the story goes is that they drilled down there and they got the ability to send someone down. And so there's all this fanfare that they got to the bottom and they got the water and they're taking the samples, but then just radio silence.
Uh-oh.
Nothing else came out. And this is like 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
And so the story goes, again, conspiracy theories, take them for what you will, right? But the story goes is that the Russians sent a team of scientists all the way down through the ice. They got down there. They started exploring the water, and they found the creature that has been cataloged as Organism 46B, which is a 30-foot-long octopus that has the same intelligence as humans, but can mimic the shape of a diver. So it can comport its tentacles and make it look like it's a person.
That almost sounds like John Carpenter's The Thing almost.
A little bit, right? But you know, the setting is the same. But the idea is that it can make you think that it's a diver, like that whole like black diver thing, and like kind of in that kind of realm. So supposedly this thing can kill at a distance. It can poison you and you can drown and then it'll eat you. And that it was killing and eating these scientists one a day for several days until 2 of them escaped. It was supposed to be a 6-hour trip and it ended up being like 4 days or something. And my details are a little foggy. It's been a minute since I heard the podcast, but you know, so I'm sure your crypto people are like, no, that's not right. That's not right. It's like, I'm not saying it's right. This is the approximation.
This is what it is.
But the general idea is that a couple of them got out and survived. And we're just like, there's this thing down there and it's eating us. And then supposedly Putin said, you're going back in, get me one. And so
Putin sent them in again.
Like you just for a minute, picture you're the scientist. Say the story is true. You're the scientist. You're life and death battle fighting this horrific shape-shifting sea monster that's killing your friends and colleagues, chasing you down. You are horribly just scarred, and the trauma that will live with you forever. You get out through grit and willpower, and you go and you get up through that ice and you climb with the rope for miles to get out, and you get up and you get out and you tell them, oh my God, there's this thing down there. You got to tell them all about it. And then they just get a phone call. You're going back down. Like that would be the most perfect place to just start playing the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song. Just like bum, 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 bum. Just
Man,
Like
oh
you do.
man.
Just kill me now. I'm done. I'm not going back in. But supposedly they went and they got one, and now Putin has it in a fish tank somewhere, trying to turn into some super soldier. I don't know. The whole thing kind of spirals out. But supposedly one of the scientists went into hiding and gave an interview. No. My cousin's friends, uncle's, grandma's friends, cousin's roommate told them,
Yeah, right, exactly.
I just think it's fascinating. I love sea
like that.
monsters and the unknown and the unexplained. I think it's I think it's super fascinating. Is it real? 99% not. But is
You
it
never
fun
know.
to talk about? 100%. I mean, hey, right? The coelacanth, they found one, thought it was dead for millions of years. Giant squid, just a story until a couple one washed up on the beach 100 years ago, right? So, I mean, there is something to stories. There's always a basis. There's always a kernel.
Absolutely.
Of something, but of these you can't disprove, right? Like mermaids were manatees, right? Wasn't that the whole thing?
Yeah, that was. For sure.
Yeah. You look down, it looks like a mermaid, and then all of a sudden you get down there, like, oh, it's a water cow. Okay, so you got a bunch of lonely men on these ships. Imaginations run wild, and I'm sure they're all a little dehydrated. So, to be expected.
Now, what was it? Just so for we want to research this ourselves. What you call that thing from Russia? The creature number what? What was it called again?
Organism 46B. Do a deep dive. It's fun. It's
Organism 46B, ladies and gentlemen. You want to check that out. Organism 46B. I'm intrigued myself. So
I started writing a short story for the collection. I never finished it, so it's not going to be included. But it was about that, and what if one just washed up to the shore of San Diego? What would happen? So, anyways, yeah. I don't know. I think cryptozoology is super cool because it can kind of get your juices flowing, get you
absolutely
into, thinking some cool modes, and just at least for me, it really kind of sparks that imagination of like, oh, what if? Well, what if it was this? What if it was
absolutely.
This?
That's helped me too. Since I've been hanging around, Tex and Jason and Rob on their channel. I mean, I've learned a lot just by listening to them and some of the guests that they've had on the show. So yeah, it's very intriguing. Yeah, once I like a good mystery. So
yeah, I like a good mystery. It's humans need answers for things. We don't just go, oh, I don't know. No, we got to know what it is.
So yeah, exactly. Research.
We're a curious species, for better or worse. Sometimes better, sometimes worse.
We got another comment. It's another podcast, kind of what you're talking about, cryptids and everything. So the Confessionals podcast. Now, I am not familiar with this one, but definitely want to check that out. So
who is this cheese freak, and what is their favorite cheese? I myself am partial.
Okay, cheese freak, you got a question for you. What was the question? Who are you, and what's your favorite cheese?
Just what's your favorite cheese freak? What do you?
What's your favorite
which
cheese?
Cheese got you freaking out?
Okay, you got a question, cheese. You've been called out, so I hope you can respond. But she did say something.
Would be a good answer.
Yeah, no, she did have a good.
No, yeah.
She did have a good answer when you're talking about that squid, that octopus thing. You talking about a water cow. She's talking about herself now, joking. She goes, "Sounds like me, a water cow." Oh, I bet not, cheese. I don't think you give yourself enough credit there. So, okay, here she responded, a ginger and Gorda.
All right. Yeah, cheese. It's great stuff. I tried being a vegan once. It lasted 1 week, and I said, no, I need cheese.
And then Chad wrote Limburger.
Is that it's like Hannibal Lecter's homemade cheese? Is that
sounds like it? Yeah. And I guess this is another podcast. Kill the Mockingbirds is good. I never heard of that one, so I'll have to check that one. We got a lot of good comments tonight. I've never heard of some of these, so now I can kind of see what's going on those channels. So all right.
Yeah. Well, what the Mockingbirds ever do to you? They're just out there, just going chirp chirp, living their lives. Eating worms early in the morning, right? That's what birds do.
Well, you gave
them.
Yeah, exactly. You gave me a question just now. Let me put the question to you now.
All right.
What do you believe in cryptids? And if you do, what sold you on you believing that there is a possibility or that there is something out there? I'll put it that way.
So I am a skeptic. I'm a skeptical person,
Okay,
but I'm not a
that's
jerk
okay.
about it. I think everyone's got their experience and their things they draw from. I need to see like hard evidence with
Okay,
just about
that's fair.
anything. But you can make conjecture and you can kind of go out on a limb. And that's why I was saying I think that the most likely one would probably be like the Yeti or some kind of human adjacent being that didn't die out with you know, everything else in the ice age, 10,000 years ago. You had all this like megafauna and all these things.
Mhm.
The ecosystem changed, glaciers retreated, and we lost the giant sloths and saber-toothed cats and all sorts of stuff, woolly mammoth. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other human adjacent species that were still milling around that might have died out before we actually found that they were there. And
It's
so
true.
like I said with Gigantilopithecus, I'm just like, well, it was just like what? Was it like a tooth or a bone? It was like one thing, but
Something like that, yeah.
They extrapolate a lot from that. But the sheer volume of non-human species that lived on Earth and things that were here before even humans, like they just came out and said, oh yeah, was it like Homo erectus figured out sailing before we were even a species? So a lot was happening before we came on scene. And I do think that there's a little bit of hubris there to say that, oh, none of this is real. I'm like, no, I think that when it comes to humanoid, human adjacent, man ape, in that kind of general Venn diagram of things, like I think that those are probably the most likely things to be real. I mean, dragons probably found dinosaur bones. The Cyclops, yeah, that was, I think when they were down in Africa, they found, the Greeks started going south, they started finding elephant skulls. And an elephant skull looks like a Cyclops because it has one big hole for the
trunk. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So there,
That's
I love seeing kind of how some of these things get debunked in a way, or what like a more rational scientific explanation might look like. So I like the black carpet concept. I think that's neat, but I think it was just like glaciers rubbing or something. Did you hear about that one?
No, the black carpet is what you said?
So there's like supposedly this like 5-mile wide super organism that lives under the ocean. It's
5 miles.
The blip. It's known as the blip, but I'm sure your crypto following is like, oh yeah. So the general idea is that there's this giant carpet monster that lives at the bottom of the ocean, just cruises around and eats stuff, but it's so big that it can affect like seismic equipment, and it goes back in like the Cold War and weird readings. But I think it finally got debunked as, oh no, that was just the sound of Antarctic glaciers moving, and that's what the sound
is that what
as
it
far
was?
as I understand. Again, I'm not an expert in cryptozoology.
I definitely not. You'll talk to Tex about that.
I just find it fascinating. I just think it's a really cool thing. And as far as aliens go, I don't know. I know someone that says she was abducted by aliens, and she's just like, hand to God, like this happened to me multiple times, and
Really?
And I'm not one to discount other people's experiences, but yeah, I don't know. I would like to think we're not alone in the universe, and I'd like to think that there are a whole host of wonderful species and things out there for us to discover.
I believe that. Yeah.
But I would also be very concerned if there's something out there that has been able to cloak its presence from us. In the history of humanity, it usually doesn't work out so good for the home team.
Maybe they don't want to be found, They don't want us to contact them, And so I've always thought about that. Like, as vast as our universe is, galaxies, I find it hard to comprehend that we're the only intelligent species out there. As vast and billions of galaxies as there are. I mean, there may be, but I find that hard to believe that there's not life somewhere else, my opinion.
Yeah. So circling back to the book, whoop, whoop, can you put that bad boy up again?
We will put that book back up. Here we go.
Boom. So tons and tons of world building have gone into this book. So if you like kind of speculative space aliens and kind of what things could be like outside, if there are beings in space, are they benevolent? Are they not? Are they here for good? Are they here for evil or their own ends? What does outer space's government look like? All those questions answered. What does the Galactic Union's bureaucratic process look like?
Not the Galactic Empire, I hope.
No. This is, I mean, not giving too much away, but the general gist is there is a lot of life outside of Earth, and we are actually a protected habitat.
Oh,
because
okay.
we are like the undiscovered tribe. You know, we're like an undiscovered tribe in the Amazon. Like, no, let them do their thing. Don't mess with it. Just
Right.
don't. But then there's always some, someone that wants to go evangelize and breaks the rule and goes down and tries to talk to the locals, right? So it's kind of in that vein. That lots of different alien creatures and species and
Kind of like, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Yeah, except it's a lot more coldly corporate.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars, it's like everyone's evil. They're all out for each other except for this band of lucky heroes. In Star Trek, it's like, oh no, we're all peaceful and we're all friends. And we just have to watch out for the people trying to disrupt the balance. And
yes.
and this universe is a lot more. It's like, what would people be like thousands of years from now with all the technology, but we were all still the same absolute ridiculous people?
How will the people act?
What does that look like when we've never shed our ridiculousness?
Yes,
but we have all the technology.
That's almost scary to think about.
Yeah. What does that look? What is that world or that galaxy look like? So a little more in that world, a little more in that kind of vein of things.
Well, we've talked about, your book. We've talked about, now we've touched on cryptids, we've touched on aliens, but now here's one more that's really I've had experience with. I mean, and I believe it totally. It totally is the paranormal.
Okay.
It's a long story. I've told it on this show before, but I have a very, very horrifying paranormal experience. And
give it to me.
Reader's Digest version, I use a Ouija board alone. Shouldn't have done that. And that was, I'll tell you after the show. I've regurgitated that story before. So after the show, I'll tell it to you. But I definitely believe in the paranormal. I believe.
I have a ghost story that will rock your socks.
Please. I've already told mine, so go ahead.
I'll try to give you it's a little long. I'll try to squeeze it under 10 minutes.
We've got plenty of time.
All right. So, as I mentioned, I have always been a skeptic. I have always looked for the rational scientific explanation for anything, be it religion, be it, I have an aunt, she's every last word of the Bible is true and she won't believe otherwise. I told her about Lake Vostok and I said, isn't this interesting? She's like, no, that can't be real. The Earth's only 6,000 years old. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere here with this one. but I've always been the skeptic. I've always tried to find another way around why things look the way they look. So here is my story. I moved into my house. I'm in California in the suburbs, a beautiful city called Temecula, my country. And this used to be, everything used to be Indian land, right? But there was different sites of like some skirmishes back when this was Mexico, during the Mexican-American War. There were different tribes that fought each other. There was a whole bunch of Mormon missionaries that were established here that were teaming up with one tribe against another tribe. And the Mexican army. So like a lot of stuff had happened here before it was the city, historical stuff. So, but my house was built. It was not a house before. I was the first person that moved in. No, not like some old house. No one died in it, right? It was dirt and then it was a house. And I was dating a girl when I bought my house. I bought this house 15 years ago. And she always said like, she felt things, she experienced things, weird stuff. And I was always like, nah, I don't know. I've never experienced anything. And she's like, I keep seeing this man in black. Like I went to the laundry room. He's just in the corner of my eye, just in my peripheral, just right kind of there all the time. Oh, wow. And so she said, yeah, I can experience this. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then there was a friend who came and like hung out one time. And she was like, I had a weird experience. And I'm like, what's that? She's like, I was going to turn the light on and something hit my hand. And I was like, that's weird. Wow. And you would get weird stuff. Different friends would have some kind of different weird experiences. Stuff would just like fly off the wall sometimes. Wow. Weird stuff. But I was always like, I don't know, maybe, something happened and just like get a little vibration. Maybe a trash truck came by and something just kind of shook off. Or I'd always give these stories, and the girlfriend at the time would always be like, yeah, you don't understand. So break up with that girlfriend. Next girlfriend number 2. So she's here. And she's experiencing weird stuff. And she has weird things. Wow. And everyone's always like, I experience weird stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. So one night I'm downstairs. I'm hanging out. This is, before I'm married, before our kids. I'm just hanging out downstairs, smoking some weed, watching some TV like you do. This is California, baby.
Having fun,
yeah, just living my life. And so I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. I walk upstairs. I go up. And my house is 3 stories. It's skinny and it's up. And so it's like... They're not connected. They're not duplexes or single houses, but they're just skinny and they go up.
Right.
So I go upstairs it's 3 stories. I go up to the 2nd story, and as I'm about to open my door, I look down the hall, and there at the end of the hall was like a 3, 4, 5-year-old boy sitting at the end of the hallway.
Ooh.
And he had blonde hair. He was wearing overalls, and he was sitting cross-legged playing with a train. And so I stopped.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Chills. You can, you're just like that fight or flight reflex kind of kicks in a little bit. And
for sure.
Your hairs stand up. And I said, okay, hold on. I just took a massive bong rip. It's probably, what's it? Well, is it pareidolia? Is that where you like see, Jesus and the grilled cheese and
yes.
all the different shapes and all that? I was like, no. I'm like looking at this thing while I'm having this conversation myself. Like, okay. The window is open over here. The door is open for my roommate who's not here right now. The light is coming in. It is probably my brain taking those shards of light and creating this thing out of it.
An
because
image,
people always tell me my house is haunted, and my brain is probably taking a leap after all these things. That's probably what's happening. So I turned the light on. Nothing was there. It's like, I'm going to bed. Tell my girlfriend this story, and she goes, yeah, so I have a friend, and she sees things. She's seen things ever since she was a kid. And I said, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, bring them over. And mind you, like I have other roommates who have all said weird stuff happens in the house. So she brings her friend over, and her friend looks like Lydia from Beetlejuice, like the total part, just like popped out, all black, the whole thing.
Funny.
And I said, all right, you can bring your friend over, but the rule is you can't tell her anything that anyone's experienced. She has to go in cold. She's like, deal. And I had, at this point, I had brought my priest in, and he blessed the house, and I had, the
whole Amityville thing.
and so she was like, okay, let's do the walk. So I take her around downstairs, nothing. Go in the garage, nothing. I take her up to the 3rd story. This is where we're at, my lovely office, nothing. Look in the closet, nothing. Look around. Okay, let's go down. Where the activity has always been. It's always been 2nd story. So I walk and I say, do you see anything down the hallway? And she's like, no, there's nothing there. I said, okay, let's go in my room. We go in my room and we go look at my room. Like, do you see anything? No. Then we go into my bathroom, and she stops. She says, there's a woman wearing a red dress hanging by a noose in your shower.
Ooh,
and I say,
wow.
Okay. You want to ask her to leave?
Where do you go from there? Yeah.
And she closes her eyes and she says, okay, she won't talk to me. And I say, well, how can we haggle this situation? Let's get her out.
Where do you go from here? Yeah,
exactly. Open a window and she'll just leave. She's like, that's not how it works. And I say, I don't know the rules. I'm just a guy with a haunted house. So I say, all right. What can you do? And she says, all right, I've had a spirit guide ever since I was little. I can summon her and she will talk to the ghost. I said, okay, do that. So she closes her eyes again. She says, okay, she's here. I'm like, all right, cool. So now what? She says, they can talk and we can leave and we can go see the other rooms. It's like, great. So we go into the next room. It's, I have 2 bedrooms and a master. So we go into the 2nd bedroom and we open it up. Nothing. I open the closet and she stops. She's like, huh? I'm like, what? She's like, there's a little boy. And I go,
uh-oh.
Did my girlfriend tell you? No, I was like, but she had sworn after that. She like,
that
I never
sounds familiar. Wow.
So I said, what does the boy look like? And she says, I don't know. He's young, maybe 5. I'm like, what color's his hair? It's blonde. Like, what's he wearing? Overalls? And I'm like, can we help him with anything? And she says, he's hiding. And I said, hiding? Hiding from who? She says, the man. And I said, so you're telling me I got a ghost in my house that's scared? Okay.
Oh
how can we help him? She's like, you can't. We just leave him alone. I said, fine by me. We look in the laundry room, nothing. Look in the other bathroom, nothing. Go to the third bedroom, and it's like really cold. And it's always been because like the house just heats unevenly, but felt really, really cold. And she stops, and I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "There's a man wearing all black facing the corner of the room. His face is just buried in the corner. He has a black hat and a black coat." Described exactly what my previous girlfriend had said she
described.
Saw.
Yeah.
And I said, "All right, well, what does he want?" And she says, "We don't want to talk to this one." And I was like, "Fine by me. Let's go check back on the shower."
No argument here. Yeah.
So we go back to my bathroom, and she goes, "Oh, she's no longer hanging by a noose in your shower." I'm like, "That's great. Good news." She says, "No, now she is currently trying to claw her way through the seam between your wall and your ceiling." And I'm like, "I'm going to throw up right now. That sounds horrifying."
Oh, no.
And so she's like, she's just trying to crawl through. I said, "Are you sure the window trick won't work?" And she's like, "That's not how it works." And I said, "So what do I do? Just live with it?" And she said, "Yeah, I guess." And I was like,
"What else can you do?" Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, I'm just about good vibes, good energy. So anyways, after that, I just kind of like, whatever. I ended up breaking up with that girl. Now I'm with a new girl. And girl number 3, she's my wife. We got married. Hooray. Had babies. Did the whole thing.
Good.
Yay. 7 years, no itch. So very happy. So anyways, she's here now. And she has always said, "I've experienced weird stuff. I've had weird feelings. I've seen stuff just fly off of the walls."
Ooh,
like
wow.
paintings or like stuff on counter. And we've seen it. Like you'd be sitting there and then something would just get chucked up. Like I'm like, that is not a vibration knocking something off. That was thrown.
You need to put cameras in your house, Paul. Cameras. Maybe you can catch something.
Everyone says that. And anyways, so a couple of years have gone by now, and all my roommates had moved out, and it's just me and my wife and her roommate. So the energy is calmer. There was a couple that was living in one of the rooms, and they were fighting all the time. So there's just chaotic energy in the house. I do believe in
that'll do it.
The fact that energies change things and attract certain things. Law of attraction, right? So anyways, the house had been a lot calmer. Nothing really going on in the house anymore. No spooky stuff. Nothing too crazy. And my wife was outside. Our old neighbors, they had a boy and a girl. And at this time, he was maybe 6 and she was like 9. And they were just riding their bikes on the little ramp in the alley behind the garage.
Like all kids
and
do.
They're just being kids, right? And normally these are happy-go-lucky kids, but the young one, his name's Caden, and he was really forlorn and just kind of like. And my wife Melissa, she goes up to him and said, "Caden, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And his sister chimed in, and she's like, "No, he's having trouble sleeping right now, and he's just kind of freaking out all the time." She's like, "Why? What's wrong?" She's like, "Oh, he's just a baby. He keeps saying he's seeing something in his shower." And we're like, and she's like, "What do you see in your shower?" And he said, "I see a lady with a red dress."
There we go again. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my man.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That had all been true. That's a true story. I had some lady, like, I wrote that out on Facebook one time, and this lady came and just called me out. "I'm a psychic medium, and I know that that's bull, and I don't da-da-da-da-da." And I'm just like, my head, I'm like, "Nah, lady, all this stuff happened. You're clearly not a psychic." You'd be able to tell.
That is an awesome story. In fact, you got a comment about that in the comment section. I'll display it. It says, "Paul Bahou, you so need to check out this Strange Familiars podcast. This sounds like one of their podcasts. So you might want to check that Strange Familiars podcast."
Yeah.
You ought to share your story on that too.
That's a wild one, huh? But I haven't had any ghostly experiences. When I had kids, I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna like see stuff and they're gonna da-da-da-da-da." And nothing really. My daughter
not really
showed any. Yeah, my daughter, no, nothing. And my son, sometimes he waves at nothing outside our window. And that makes me go,
Wow. Well, my story, like I said, we'll talk after the show's over, Paul, and mine is pretty horrifying, and it convinced me never. And I've talked about this on the show on other episodes of Public Service. Don't mess with Ouija boards because you are opening stuff up, and I opened something up I shouldn't have, and it was the most it was the most terrifying night of my life. And so,
Am I allowed to swear? Can I swear in this podcast? Can I swear in this podcast?
It's kind of a family show.
No.
So, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So we try to.
Don't mess with the spirit world. Is my
there you go.
general
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I've said that before.
Don't mess with the spirit world. I think there's definitely something there, and you can argue if it's religion or science or quantum physics or string theory or parallel dimensions stacked on top of each other or whatever. Something's weird. Something about our perception with reality, and I think that there's some kind of bleed over from somewhere else. And
absolutely.
I just don't invite it. Yeah. Why do that to yourself? Live a good life.
Just say no.
Just say no. Oh yeah. My dad told me, he's like, after I die, he's Palestinian, so he's like, after I die, please get the Ouija board. I want to talk to you. You have a secret password. You tell me the password. I will tell you what the password is, and then you will know it is me. And then I'm like, but what if the ghost is listening to us right now?
They're hearing you talk,
to be you,
or demons or whoever. Yeah.
I was like, not doing it. Once you're dead, you're gone. I'll visit your grave.
Well, Paul, let's go back to your book again. A book that you've already published, and let's bring that up again. People that just tuned in a few minutes ago. This is called Sunset Distortion, The Pyramid at the End of the World. And you won't know what the pyramid is, ladies and gentlemen, until you read it. So,
is the pyramid a real place, or is it something inside you?
Right. And so this is available now, right, Paul? You can go to Amazon.com and get this.
Go to Amazon, read it. It's a fun read. It's humorous science fiction. So if you like jokes, you'll probably like it.
I love
it. Like weird sci-fi world building, you'll probably like it. If you like, buddy comedy action kind of story, right up that alley.
For all tastes, sounds like.
For all tastes, and like I said, it's got some violence in there, but no profanity, nothing too sexual, just good old fashioned outer space shenanigans.
Perfect. Now tell us about your second book. Number one, what's the title, and number two, when do you think it'll be released?
So my second book is called The Electric Graveyard.
Electric Graveyard.
It's a collection of short stories. Science fiction and horror and a blending of the two, mystery kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it's in that realm, and the hope is to have it out before Halloween. So it's pretty much all written, and right now it's just in the editing beta reader phase. So for people who have put out a book before, there's a whole slog of things you got to do before it actually.
Absolutely. I've heard, yes, for sure. Well, Paul, I am very glad you were on the show tonight. I've learned a lot. Just having a great conversation with you, too. And so, you know what? I would like to keep in touch, and that way when you have your new book out, love to have you back on the show again, talk some more.
Sounds wonderful, Bob. Thanks for having me, and I'll happily come back whenever you want.
Thank you, Paul. Have a great night.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all going to do it for tonight's episode of Van Buren Variety. Just as a reminder, I'm on the air live every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock Central Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Time with another guest with an equally interesting topic. So if you haven't already went to Van Buren Variety, hit that subscribe button. You can keep in touch. And if you liked Paul's interview tonight, and especially if you liked his book, make sure you go to Amazon.com and buy your copy now, and also like this video. And even if you're not watching this show live, if you're watching it days, weeks, months, years from now, and you want to leave a comment, you can still leave a comment below, and I'll definitely make sure Paul sees it. So that's all for me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I did. This is Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. We'll see you next week. Good night.